Hey everybody, it's Corey with Ascend Smarter Intervention, and today I wanted to share just a couple of quick tips in terms of how to really get the most of your online reading intervention, how to troubleshoot, and just a couple of things, a couple of ideas just to throw your way. So what we did is we went ahead and posted a question to say, what areas of online reading instruction still feel a little bit tricky? And we got some questions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and address answers to those questions. So hopefully, if you have been doing online instruction or you've been preparing for online instruction, hopefully you've been able to access some type of digital material. So that could be Google Slides, that could be PowerPoint, that could be Seesaw activities. There's so many different platforms. And I know that that can feel overwhelming to learn a new platform, but the great thing is that we really have to see this as an opportunity to really up-level our instruction, because there are so many ways that we're going to be able to use this and use everything that we've learned to be able to continue on with some of that in the future. And so this whole situation of having this hybrid or fully remote or fully in person that may be switching to remote is really just pushing us to this level outside of our comfort zone. But the good thing is it's forcing us there, and everybody's there together. So you don't have to feel like I'm the only one who's not getting this. So many of us are in this same space right now. And so what we really need to do is we need to give ourselves grace. We need to make sure that we're not saying, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this, my kids can't do this. That's really not that growth mindset that we're working so hard to teach our students. We have to recognize that we have to be the models of that growth mindset. And we have to be willing to say, yeah, you know what, I'm not really clear on this platform. I'm not really clear on what I'm doing right now. And that's okay. That's okay, because I'm going to figure it out, and we're going to figure it out, and it's all going to be great. So anyway, I wanted to start with that because we got a lot of, oh, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. That's okay. Nobody is. We're all in this together. So again, hopefully if you've been preparing, you have some type of digital material. Now, typically, if you have a PowerPoint or if you have Google Slides, you are able to transition those back and forth. So depending on what you're using, hopefully you have access either to Office Suite or you have access to Google to be able to access these online materials. There's tons of things available through Teachers Pay Teachers, through a lot of online learning platforms are now giving us access to, online resources. So one of the questions that we've had is, a lot of people have digital materials and they're feeling like, well, I don't need all of the things, or I just need, part of them. That's totally fine. So for example, we showed how we use this spelling activity to help students learn how to divide up their syllables using these movable pieces. And so one of the things that you can recommend, or that you can remember, is that some students may be able to manipulate and some students may not be able to manipulate. You can still be creative. And one of the biggest tips that we can give is to truly be creative and to go in telling your students, we're going to be creative together and we're going to figure it out. We're going to make this work. And this is my plan and this is what I'm hoping to do, but let me know if you have suggestions or ideas too, because your students will have lots of ideas for you. So we talked about really going through this whole process of identifying syllables, identifying sounds, and one of the biggest things is some of these are too hard for students to move unless they are older students. And so it's okay for you to do it for them. It's okay for you to pull physical materials into your online sessions. Oftentimes what we've asked students to do is to have a whiteboard available. Or I was gonna say, where are my dry erase markers? Of course, I don't have one easily accessible, but even if they don't have a dry erase marker, or if they don't have a whiteboard, they would need a dry erase marker, they can use a binder or something, and they can be writing right on that and just erasing right off. So again, sometimes we're getting really creative of what do you physically have available for you if you don't have the digital materials. Keep in mind, some students still need that physical manipulation of something in their hands. So we did a blog last week, I'll link to it, on the 3 things that we feel like we must have in our sessions to be able to make this work. So from there, again, you can do all the manipulation for your students. You don't need them to do it. You can do a lot of this, especially if you're teaching asynchronous lessons, especially if you're running a group lesson. So we've had lots of questions around group lessons. A lot of times what I'm doing is I'm manipulating everything. I'm asking them to write on their whiteboard, turn it around and show it to me right there on the screen. So that's definitely an option. Another option is that people have said, well, what if I don't need all the tiles? Or what if I don't need all the manipulative pieces and it's too overwhelming for students? What you can do is you can take your mouse or your touchpad and you can literally just click and drag. And when you click and drag, what's gonna happen is you're gonna highlight all of these different items. So now you can see that you have these little arrowy things everywhere. You can literally just delete. And that will work perfectly to get rid of what you don't need, and you can pick and choose what you don't need. Same thing, you can also just create that box by clicking and dragging, and you can Control C, Control V, and what that will do is that's going to give you extras of everything. And so if you need multiple tiles or if you need more manipulative pieces, you can usually just copy and paste. Again, depending on what digital stuff you have access to, if it's a Google slide or if it's a PowerPoint and you have manipulatable or movable objects, you should be able to Control C, Control V, easy peasy. So that's just some quick tips in terms of manipulating your slides. Now, one of the other questions that we're really getting a lot of concern around, or what do I do if I can't screen share? Or what do I do if basically, hopefully you can screen share. Hopefully you can put content in front of your students. Whatever platform you're using, you are sharing what's on your screen. If not, we've had a lot of teachers tell us that the school's not allowing Zoom. Fine, that's totally fine. However, you may still be able to use Zoom or Loom, L-O-O-M, Zoom and Loom, to record videos. So not necessarily for the conferencing piece, but to record a video that you can then upload into whatever system it is that you're looking for. One of the systems that we highly recommend, that I'm going to go ahead and flip to here real quick, would be Google. Google, we love Google. And I would definitely recommend just using Google Folders or using Google Classroom if you want to be even a little bit more organized. Oftentimes what we do, if we have students in our program, we've gone to our website, we have our library of materials. And so we're downloading and we're literally pulling from our lesson. So hopefully, no matter what platform you're using or no matter where your content is coming from, you should be able to go in, grab your online resource. In this case, we've provided PowerPoints, but whatever you're using is great. You would just grab whatever that is. So you're just going to click on that so that you can grab that lesson. And then what we do is we'll pull it into a Google folder for our students. So in this case, we have our level 1 program here with all of our different slides. And again, you're just trying to organize all the digital materials that you have. And what you could do is you could just make a copy for each of your students. If you're working one-on-one, you can make a copy of this folder and send it to the family, and then the family has immediate access. And the awesome thing is that then when they open up this slide, what I would recommend doing is making sure that when you're going to open up this slide, you want to just double click. It's going to pull. And then when we go to, let's see here, we should be able to open in with Google Slides. It's a little slow, it's getting laggy. So we're going to open with Google Slides. And then it's going to let us see it. So if you have, this is a PowerPoint, right? So this is not Google Slide, but if you have put it into a Google folder, you can now open it up as a Google slide. So whenever you've got something in a Google folder, it's going to prompt you to open as a Google slide, which is exactly what you want to do, especially if you have students who don't have PowerPoint, who don't have all of these other pieces. They can use Google Slides to manipulate, which is great. That is perfect. That is exactly what you want. And so from there, now students have the option of, moving and wiggling things around. They're going to be able to move their little pieces. And the great thing is that if you've got multiple students, they all have their own copy. And so they can be working on their copy and you can check their progress later. So you can provide a whole group lesson and then you can provide little check-in points of, for example, I may go through CH and we go through a lot of examples together for our students. So we practice saying C, H says ch. Then what I would want to do is just like I showed in the last one, we want to have more CHs. So then we could just Control C, Control V, CH says ch, CH says ch. Right there, I've got a lot of different pieces that I've done in my full group lesson. Now what I can do, because every student has their own copy, is I can say, I want you to brainstorm a word with the ch sound, and I want you to go ahead and make me a text box and put it here. You can show them where to find the text box. This is a really great opportunity for our young students, all the way up through our older students, to really be working on and mastering their computer skills in a very digital age. So this is really great. Then we could say, all right, great, let's build some words with CH. And so again, we can copy and paste and tell them, I want you to build me a word and I'm gonna check it later. Like that's their homework. You're asking them to do that independently. You're going through the full group lesson and then this is their independent work that you want them to do. Now, when you're going through reading, what I would recommend if you're in a small group setting is that you have students take turns. So you have one student read this word, you have another student read this word, and then you may have some students who maybe you want to say, what if we changed the ch to a w? Then what would the word be? What if we changed the I to an e? What would the word be? And so you can be engaging all of your students, even if only one has decoded the word. Others can define it for you. Others can use it in a sentence for you. So again, it's about being creative. It's about stepping outside of that box. Then what you would want to do is essentially you're going to ask them, I'm going to change all these back. But then you're going to ask them to go ahead and submit that back to you. So if they've got that in their folder, you'll just be able to look at it. You won't even have, they won't have to do anything. Once they've moved everything around, you can go into their folder and look. Now, if you have bigger groups or bigger classes, what you may want to consider is doing Google Classroom. So Google Classroom is a great way to organize all this material ahead of time and then to assign it out to big groups of students at once. Now, I've named my classes each of the individual levels. What you can do if you're working in a small group intervention setting is you could name each of your groups. Now, I understand that you may need to be careful of confidentiality and things like that. So make sure if you need to be using, made up names, if the kids need to make up their own names and things like that, that you are putting privacy in here where you need to. But again, you can be really, really flexible with this. So what you're doing when you get into Google Classroom is you can just click this little plus button right here and you just create class. And so I just created all of these classes. It's so easy. You just put the little class name in there. Fun level, they're all fun. Everything's a fun level. And you create it. And then once it's created, you can invite students to it. You can just basically put together an entire roster. So here you can add your students. You need to have their email address, so you need to have a way that you can invite them. But this is where, again, if you need to have some confidentiality, you want to make sure that you have things in place for that. Then you can always go back to your classes and you can essentially start building out your content. So what I typically do is I will go to Classwork tab and then you can just create. So you can be super creative with this. So in level 1, for example, we're working on digraphs and blends. So I broke it down into topics of digraphs, initial blends, And we also have final blends. So I could add that topic. And then I can move it around because I could say, well, I want final blends to happen after initial blends. And then I could create another topic and do welded sounds. And that's perfect. And then you can pull that down as well because you could say, all right, I'm going to do that after that. Then you can start to create material, you can create assignments. And so if you want to have material that you're going to use, like this is going to be my slide that I'm going to present from, you would create material. And we can call it, let's see here, I think the next one, I'm like trying to remember. We'll just call it L Blends. We'll hope that that's what it is. And then we could click add. You can go to Google Drive, you can add a link, you can add a YouTube video, whatever it is that you need for your material. So if you're teaching an asynchronous lesson, I recommend pulling together YouTube and doing it that way. But of course, be careful because if your school does not allow your students to have access to YouTube, that will be frustrating for the parents. I speak from experience. So just be aware of what's going to be blocked in terms of access. So because I've just been working through all of these, I've got my L Blends. I'm going to go ahead and insert that right there. We've got it good to go. I can post. I was saying lessons. So we might want to say which lesson it is. That's just going to make it easier. So again, you just want to make sure it's going to be easy for your students to find. You can always go in and you can edit, you can add videos. So let's see here, lesson 5. That would make it super easy. Save. And then what you can do is from here, you can do Google Meets. You can determine how you want to organize all of that. But essentially, I'm organizing all of my lessons so that students can see their classwork, they can see their lessons. Then from there, what you may want to do is you may also want to assign a number of different things, an assignment, a quiz, a question, anything at all. So you've got a lot of flexibility here in Google Classroom for how you want to do this. So for example, if I was going to say lesson 1, CH, like home practice or independent work or whatever I wanted to say, I could add my instructions here, like complete the word sort activity on slide 5 and answer questions, whatever I'm going to do. Then I can go ahead and add again. I can go back into my Google Drive or wherever. It doesn't even have to be in Google Drive. You can literally pull it from your computer. You can pull it from anywhere. It doesn't totally matter. You can insert that there. And now what you want to do is you want to do, students can view file, students can edit file. You want to make a copy for each student. So if this is an assignment where you want them to have their own copy where they're working from it, make a copy for each student, then you are going to assign. You can decide if you're going to have points, if you're going to have rubrics, if you're going to grade them. You can decide all of that, and that is awesome. So we can go ahead and just drag that so that it fits right with, oops, I kind of wanted that to go right there. And you can just move things around. So what I did notice is that if you want to move things around, you have to create topics first. I wasn't able to move my things around until I had topics in place. So anyway, that's a really, really great opportunity in order to really keep everything organized. You could do this for a single student, right? So even if you were working individually, you could do this for a single student and you could have quizzes, you could have everything all built out for them. You could have sight word cards, you could have all of that done. And then you can just copy it. You can copy the classroom and paste it so that for your next student, you can do the same thing. So anyway, this is a really, really big tool that we definitely recommend checking out. We are not Google Classroom experts. There's lots of people that you can search on YouTube, and Google has a lot of help themselves. However, we found this to work really well for us. Hopefully it can help you out too. And hopefully you can start to just feel more confident about just stepping into the unknown together with all of us and not putting so much pressure on yourself to make it perfect. do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, you will do better, but you will not know any better until you step into that ring. So you have to do it. You have to just jump in. Action will bring clarity. So don't let all of the unknowns stop you from taking action. Again, good luck with everything. Hopefully this helps.